whole Roblox history, different games were fighting each other for players' attention. But unlike some games that died in a few months, others became so popular that people would never forget about them. In this video, we'll see 5 Roblox games that would never die, starting from the least popular. This is one of the most iconic Roblox games, which was created by Stickmaster millions of years ago. During those times, Roblox was still developing, and the games rarely had more than 1000 players, and the most popular genre of the games was natural disaster. Stickmaster loved that idea, but he thought that something was off. The problem was that they had the same disaster every time, which made them not as interesting as they could be. With that in mind, Stickmaster went ahead and created a brand new game, Natural Disaster Survival. At the time, game only had 8 maps and a few natural disasters, but that was more than enough for success. The idea was fire, and in no time, Natural Disaster became the most popular game in Roblox, hitting 10 million visits. But despite its popularity, Stickmaster wasn't going to update it. It actually makes sense, because he had an actual job in Roblox, which gave him a lot of work. But if you think about it, you realize that no updates is actually the key for this game's popularity. Stickmaster didn't update it on purpose, because the game simply didn't need any updates. Its simplicity was the thing that made it so popular, because players loved how easy it was to understand mechanics. And even the new player could learn this game with no effort. All of this combined made the game practically unforgettable, but not as unforgettable as the next one. Many of you who are watching this video doesn't just know about this game because of Roblox, but know about Roblox because this game exists. This game was made in 2022 by a developer named Splash, and in record times it became the most popular title on Roblox. Right from the start, it became so successful that in less than a day it already had more than 200k visits, and in just a month after release it had over 300 million visits. It quickly started to attract not only players but also famous YouTubers like Crickcraft, Noodles and others. When the game was released, it has 14 entities, 6 items and 6 soundtracks made by Splash himself. Unlike Natural Disaster Survival, those actually had consistent updates, with the first global update being in 2023, which brought us 10 new entities, 5 items, achievements and even a brand new shop. But the most important thing about that update was 1000 more floors to explore, which was crazy since before there was only one floor. This update basically changed the doors, making it even more popular. The game's key to its popularity is consistent update, which doesn't let the game die by adding new features every time. This game became so iconic in such short period of time that I won't be able to tell you everything about it, but it's clearly one of the games that will be remembered forever. This game was the first ever simulator on Roblox. Before it was created, most of the games were quite simple, sometimes even too simple. But most games didn't even have its economy. But the creator of the Bee Swarm, OneNet, thought that the players shouldn't just play the game. He thought that the players should have a set goal, a reason to continue playing. In his game, he added a loop progression of the game process. You need to use honey to hatch bee eggs to get bees that have different rarities, and the rarer bee will get you more pollen, which you can use to make honey to hatch more eggs for better bees. As soon as the game was created, it had thousands of players, because even though the concept is pretty simple, unlike other games, you can get better and better almost infinitely, which made players interested in it. This mechanic was so good that most of the modern games are using the same formula to reach success. Also, even though this game doesn't update very often, it actually helps it, but not in the normal way. This game actually does update once a year on Christmas, which makes so much players play it because of FOMO, and combining that with Christmas holiday, Bee Swarm Simulator becomes by far the most popular game in Roblox for a few weeks, which also helps it hold the player count during other seasons. Even though the concept of the game is quite overused and this game has a lot of competition, it still had an average of 50k players, which is huge for the game that barely gets any updates. Still, not as huge as the next game. This game was created in 2017, and even though it wasn't that successful in player count, it was definitely one of the most iconic Roblox games ever. At first, players only had 2 tools and 2 blocks to build from. The game wasn't so viral, but it was about to change. In 2018, game had a huge update that dropped and brought us different blocks to build from, and most importantly, car sets, which will turn the game into something completely different later on. People started competing in making biggest boat, and even though builds from that time were quite impressive, they were nothing comparing to what players were making later. As the time passed, builds started to become crazier and crazier, and the game was getting more and more features. Then as the game developed, it had more and more crazy builds. Some people were making actual robots, some were making games inside of the game, and some people were making something that I cannot explain. But at the end of the day, why is this game so popular? Well, there's actually many reasons for that. First of all, this game is nearly infinite amount of things that you can build, leaving a huge room for creativity. Also, it's simple to understand. It has simple mechanics which lets pretty much any player play it without being confused. Finally, this game is a literal meme. I mean, look at this. If I would see something like this around 2020, I would immediately be hooked, just like 18k other players that are constantly playing this game. Even though comparing to others, this game is not that popular, it will still forever remain in our hearts. This is the classic and the most iconic game by far. Roblox always had a roleplay genre when you can become anyone as long as you can imagine that. This genre is popular for the same reason as the most games on this list, which is its simplicity. Brookhaven is literally the definition of the perfect simplicity. When there's no complicated mechanics that are hard to understand. At first, it looks like there's nothing to do at all. It is not true. In this game, you can buy a house, become a rapper, a cook, and even a guy with 39 subs who makes YouTube videos. So despite its simplicity, in this game you can do pretty much everything. 5 years after the game was created, the creator sold it for $150 million to the Roblox games. This game was doing quite good during year 2025, but as soon as the 2026 came, it absolutely blew up, hitting over 500 average players, while still being an incredibly simple game with a small map. This game proved that the game doesn't have to be incredibly detailed to be successful, and sometimes simplicity is all you need. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, it will really help me out. See you in the next video. Goodbye!